All right, once you're ready, wad it up, and then I want everyone to stand up with the two pieces of paper you got. One that's yours and one that's the early morning group. So get them both ready. Now I have a favor to ask you. If you are really good at throwing things, you're going to throw it at my feet. Otherwise, I'm the target. Throw the paper. I'm serious. Do it. I mean it.
Count to three.
I mean it. All of it. On top of me. Yep. All right. Everybody through? Yeah. Okay. Now you got to stay standing up. And you got to come out here and pick up 2 pieces of paper.
Nice. Okay. Oh, so we're not asking our own friends.
Wow.
Someone's going to have to, sorry, can you go to the last one?
Oh, okay. So get 2 pieces. Remember, you had your own and you're also going to be out. All right. So now you're going to unroll them and see what you've got, and you get to be the filters, right? We just kind of randomize this. So if someone asks a question that you think, oh my gosh, that would be too embarrassing to ask, then you get to be the filter. All right, so who wants to go first? Who's got a question they're ready to ask? Okay.
What are the ends of rainbows?
What's at the end of rainbows? Okay, water droplets. I'm going to give you the scientist answer, I'm sorry.
It's not gold?
More water droplets. Okay. Where did I go to college? I went to the College of William and Mary, which is in Virginia. That's the state I grew up in. And it's also a public school. Okay, what have you got?
What's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue.
Oh,
Anybody else? What you got?
what exactly will you be learning about in bio 1362?
What are you going to learn about in biology 1362? Okay, so that semester is 3 big categories: genetics, evolution, and ecology. Yep, so those are the 3 big categories for this spring. Yes?
Why did you choose to teach at UH?
Why did I choose to teach at UH? I live here, don't want to commute a long way, and I like public universities because I went to public high school and I just like to be with a diverse group of people. Maybe it's like more interesting. And this is probably one of the most diverse universities in the whole country. But I don't know what the second most is.
We are.
The second. Rutgers is more than us.
Rutgers is more.
Yeah. So we're way up there, and it makes life a lot more interesting because I learn a lot from hearing from people who have a different perspective or a different background. It kind of changes what questions you ask me, and it just makes life more interesting. Yes?
What is the best kind of research you can do students to do during your undergrad?
Best kind of research for a prospective med student to do during their undergrad years. Number 1, you should think it's interesting. So doing research is great while you're in undergrad because it gets you more involved and more interested in the program. So the first thing you should choose is something you're interested in, and then we have lots of people who can mentor you in research. Have you guys already talked about that?
We will, because we're going to have a faculty advisor talking to Williams and start talking.
Yeah, so number 1 thing is pick something you're interested in because it takes a lot of time, and you're going to have to balance out your research lab time with your study time, and so it needs to be something that you want to know the answer to. Yeah. Yes. What made me want to study biology? So I am a person who grew up in my country, and I don't remember not liking biology. There's a picture of me as a little kid playing dress up, and I got a dead bird in my hand. So I used to go out with my dad and look at different flowers. I thought I was going to do a botanist initially, trying to identify wild flowers. I like to be outside, and the more you're outside, the more questions you have about what is this on me. Yes.
What's your advice for the most effective way to study?
The most effective way to study for my class. Okay, very targeted question here. So I would say the most effective way to study is review your own notes. Do those questions at the end of the section that I recommend on the outline, because that's you developing your own answer. It's not just practice with multiple choice. And reading, but I've been talking to people a lot this week during the advising sessions. Start at the back of the chapter, the summary page, and read that first, because it gives you a nice short overview, and it's quick enough, you're not going to be bored by the time you get to the bottom of the page. And then go through and start with the pictures. And look at, did she talk about that one in class? The diagrams and the pictures. And if I did, then read everything about that in detail, all the little labeled steps, the caption at the bottom, and see if you understand it. But follow that with answering those open-ended questions that are in each section, especially the ones I highlighted. There are some that I'm not interested in asking you about, so I would say don't bother with those. But that's a good way to study, is asking yourself questions. But that's a way to start the process. You don't know what to ask yourself. Yeah. Okay, who else?
Will Case Ganley and the Texans go in this Sunday?
I have no idea. Sorry. We all hope so, right? We're kind of in the doldrums here. I don't have a crystal ball. Yes.
What part of the brain is used for recollecting and remembering thoughts?
So you know what? I don't know the answer to that. That's a good question. I would say go look up some those studies of EEGs. Do you guys know what that is? Electroencephalogram, and you see the false color. I'm going to tell you something awful. I'm going to tell you to Google it, but go for some specific key terms. EEG, concentration, memory. Let's see which one. Because I'm sure those images are out there of what part of the brain lights up. And then you'll get some long name like the hippocampus or amygdala or the third ventricle or whatever. What is that? But yeah. What would you do? How would you go answer that question?
I was listening to the microphone. I didn't hear the question. What was the question?
Oh, it's what part of the brain is used for recollecting and remembering thoughts?
In your biology book, there's a neuroscience chapter, and it actually tells you that there's parts of the brain for memory, there's parts of the brain that has to do with number crunching, and so it gets mixed up, and then there's another part of the brain that brings all that in together and it processes. So there may be 4 different areas, because you got to see it, that's one part of the brain. Then if you're hearing it, that's another part of the brain. There was a study at Baylor where they actually had students go in and play video games, and play like games like poker, and they would see it, and they read and they actually watch what part of the brain was processed based on what type of games you were playing. So it really varies. It's not an easy question.
Yeah, there's a lot of, but there are lots of images out there now of people doing different tasks. Or I think I saw one recently about what happens in a little kid's brain when they take a nap. That kind of thing. Yeah. Yes.
How do you become a TA for your class, or in just general?
So that was actually an easy question to answer. You're going to see in the spring, it's usually in upper level classes, so you guys maybe won't see it yet, but in upper level classes, Dr. Pattison, who's in charge of the hiring of the TAs for this class, sends out a notice to upper level professors, and they advertise in the class and tell students about the opportunity, and then students apply. So they fill out an application, and then they come in for an interview with a panel of biology professors who teach 1361 and 1362, and have like a 20-minute interview. And then we figure out whose class schedule, who looks like they're going to do a good job and not terrorize you guys. Because sometimes people are on a power trip. Usually not, but there is a filter there to choose people who have good grades but also are likely to have good people skills and some interest in working with you guys. And then we try to match up the schedule of the people who look like good candidates with the class schedule of what's being taught that semester. So they have to be available for a certain amount of time. They have to have the time to do the recitation sessions and then for us to prep and stuff like that. So it's an opportunity you're going to hear about more as you get to upper level classes if it's something you need to like.
You wouldn't hear it in 1 or 2, would it?
No, this is like when you get to genetics and by chemistry. So I think the earliest anybody does it is when they're in second semester junior year. So genetics lab, biochemistry lab, maybe some of the micro people, but usually the solicitation is sent out to senior labs. All right, not everybody's asked questions yet.
In terms of letters of recommendation, what do you
Yes.
think students in large classes should do to stand out?
Oh, that's a great question. What should you do if you're in a large class and you need a letter of recommendation? First of all, you need to think about the fact that the person recommending you needs to know something other than what your grade in the class is. So don't think of it as, like making up to the professor. If you think, okay, this might be somebody I want to ask for a recommendation, and kind of think about it towards the end of the semester, see how you're doing. Then you need to make sure that you come in and talk to whoever that person is so they can match your name and face together, and you're not just kind of this anonymous person. Ask questions during class because you're helping everyone else. So you guys, you're like the seeds. You're the yeast. You're going to go back in there and know that it is okay to ask questions if you don't already realize that. I know you ask questions, which is good. So y'all, that is great because then it kind of gives everyone else permission to admit that they have a question and stop. Okay, so I'd rather get behind schedule a little bit and answer your questions than stay right on time. Okay? So yeah, ask questions in a good way. And make sure you go and introduce yourself. And then let the person know why you want to do what you want to do, what else you're involved in, and that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. How about over here? You guys have any questions yet?
What is your most embarrassing memory?
What is my most embarrassing memory? I remember the feeling of most embarrassing memory. What did I do? It's always about something I said. It's not about something I did. And it's usually about saying something where you either reveal too much about yourself in front of a group of people and you're like, they didn't even want to know that. That's usually the most embarrassing memory. Yeah, so nothing specific, more a category. Okay, who else?
Did you expect to be a biology teacher when you were a college student, or did you have other goals?
Yes, I decided when I was a freshman that's what I wanted to do. So I went to college knowing that I really enjoyed biology and I loved French. I enjoyed foreign language, and I initially thought in high school I was going to be a French teacher because I didn't know what else you could do with majoring in French. And then my dad got this crazy wild hair and decided he wanted to learn to scuba dive, and in order to make enough people in the class that he wanted to take, he ordered my brother and I to participate in this class with him. So we did, and we went diving in Florida, and that was it. I was going to be a biologist. So then I was sort of trying to figure out what sort of jobs I could do with a biologist and keep on asking questions for him. So I pretty much decided when I was a freshman, that's what I thought I was going to do. But then I kind of checked it out. Like you asked about doing research, I went and worked in the summertime at a museum, not interacting with the people so much, but participating in a research project to figure out, am I going to enjoy doing this all the time? So if you get to the point where you're not as interested in your classes, then maybe you want to go to a job that's more interesting to you. Like if I had gotten to the upper level classes and thought, I don't want to do this anymore, then I probably would have looked for something else. I like number crunching too. I would have been an accountant or something. But, I think it's really important that you like it as you go along, because whatever you do in life is hard work, and you might as well enjoy your work. So, okay, what about here?
Okay.
You asked. Are you doing?
You can have research project stories.
Do I have any research project stories of crazy things? I'll tell you the stupidest thing I did. This was actually after I was already a professor, so I was a professor for a while in Louisiana, and I was doing a project with some graduate students, and I was collaborating with somebody from Tulane who was providing a boat. So we were going out on the Pearl River, which separates Mississippi and Louisiana, and electrofishing, which is pretty fun. You're stunning fish and scooping them up, and then you don't kill them. They're stunned, and you scoop them up, and then you do whatever you need to do, take a sample, and then you put it back. So that's what we were doing. But I had somebody visiting who was interested in this twice. Maybe coming to graduate school, where I was. So I was determined we were going to go do this field trip because I had told her we were going to go out and do this sampling trip. We had a flood. I mean, the river was up so high we could barely get the boat in the water safely. And the guy who was working with me from Tulane was also a guide. So he was willing to launch the boat. And we loaded everybody up. And of course, we didn't get fish one. Because I mean, the river was so high, it was like all the way out in the woods. And I still think about how dumb is she did not come to graduate school at our university. And no wonder, you know, like here I am risking life and limb for no return. So that's my worst field work story. What ended up happening? Everybody was okay. We didn't have any disasters or anything like that. But it was just, when I look back, it was just stupid to do that. That was the day that I should have had some more judgment and said, it's not going to work today. You know, I'll do something else with your tour and show you our other facilities and stuff like that. Thankfully, or it worked. Okay. I don't think I've heard two questions from everyone. You haven't asked yet.
Where could I research this one last?
Where could you figure out what lab to work in? So I'll tell you what Dr. Williams tells you, although he's going to come and talk about it. He's going to tell you first to go on the Biology and Biochemistry Department website and look at the faculty pages, because everybody has on there what their research is in their lab. And then you can go through Dr. Williams, but you can also email that faculty member and say, hey, I think I'd be interested in doing research in your lab. We also have tours this semester. So go on the our course Blackboard page, and there's a little link that says lab tours. So there are faculty who agree to sign up. And they're happening during the month of October at the beginning of November. So some have already happened, but there's still some to come next week and the 2 weeks after that. So, but if you don't see anything, and there's a link on that page to say, just take you straight to that person's lab. So you can see which yes.
What part of biology do you specialize in?
Fish. Fish physiology, fish reproduction. So when we get to the end of the semester and we talk about reproduction, that's my specialty, but particularly on fish. So, yeah. Why fish? Because of the whole scuba diving thing. I learned how to scuba dive, and I'm like, okay, what creatures do I want to work on? I thought I was going to spend my life on a coral reef. That didn't last long. And I got interested in the fish, and so I started working on fish, and then some marine, some freshwater, some marsh. What's your favorite fish? What's my favorite fish to eat? Probably speckled trout. We have in the Gulf of Mexico. Favorite one I've worked on? I don't know. The thing I've found is even however plain they are, like I've also worked on those minnows you buy for bait to go fishing. Even those are beautiful when you look at them up close. The more you look at any organism in detail, the more amazingly organized and just pretty it is. I mean, cyanobacteria, you could probably even get into those and how cool they look. Certainly diatoms. Those are like wild, wacky structures.
Do you have an aquarium?
Yeah, but you know why I have an aquarium? So for a long time, I never had one at home because it was too much like work, right? I had to do that at work, so forget it at home. It's because my youngest kid wanted to have fish, so he takes care of them. He feeds them, cleans it, the whole bit. Yes.
This is my second question.
Okay.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2. Yeah. Yeah. And you'll probably see them someday, sometime when they get out of school early and I have to bring them. And they have to sit outside and wait for me to get out of class. Yes.
How old are they?
They are 12 and 10. Yeah.
Are they both boys?
Yeah. 2 boys. 2 noisy boys.
Do they like biology?
Do they like biology? One of them really likes animals. I don't know if he's going to be a biologist yet. And the other one is interested in being an engineer. He likes to build stuff in the garage all the time. He's always coming up with a project. So, yes.
Do you curve at the end of the semester for 1361?
especially because now we're having this comprehensive final. You may want to know where did I go wrong. Because you usually know what you got right. You know. Yes.
Will we be able to take notes, like, okay, I got this question wrong, you will write like a little bit explanation?
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to do, you can't write down the question and the answers. But yeah, the topic. Yeah. And usually it's a category of things. Usually people find it's a category of things where it's a type of question in the sense of whether you're being asked to apply or analyze that you want to do. All right, how about over here? I think I've heard 2 questions from that.
No, we have one.
You only have one.
They only got one. They're mentors.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Safe actually took your class last year. He's a sophomore, so he took your first
Okay.
freshman class.
So I recognized both faces, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Take it again.
It's hard when there's so many of you. I don't know how you do it. I don't, because when you have a lot at one time, I'm sorry guys, a lot of times I'll recognize your face and you'll say, hi, Dr. Keith, and I'll just smile at you and say, hi, I know that you're in my class. And now I get to the point, I'm like, is it this semester or last spring?
What was the average for the first test?
For this class, I think we were at either a 72 or a 73. Is
This
that right,
class
guys?
average was at 82, so the average of the subset of the
Hey, awesome, guys. I'm proud of you. Go Figs! I'm proud of you. Fix this. No, the Figs are a great thing, and I'm serious when I say to be least in the classroom. That's what I noticed last year with the Fig group. They kind of started sitting together, and we're sitting in 2 groups, and y'all would be the, yeah, you guys sit together. And you'd be, I had one group I called the Peanut Gallery.
Yeah.
They're kind of rowdy. Yes.
When you were about biology major, did you struggle in having?
So, did I tell you my story of not knowing what ATP was? Did I tell you that?
Yes. They never taught you.
Yes. So I had this bizarre biology background from high school, which was that the church organist taught biology in our local public high school, because we just was a small town. So everybody had more than one job. And he just taught us whatever he thought we might be interested in that day. So, hey, you guys want to learn some bones? We memorized all the bones of the human body. Nothing about mechanics and how they work or the muscles that attach. None of that. Life cycle of a moss, I can tell you that. That's about all I do from high school biology. So yes, I did. I went in thinking, all right, I don't know anything at all. So I was memorize those notes, which I'm going to tell you guys, I think memorization is a useful skill and they need to go beyond that. I'm never going to say to you memorization is worthless, because it is useful. But then you got to go to that next level. So, yeah, I feel like I was overwhelmed with terminology. So if you feel that way, it gets better. It definitely gets better. The thing that really got to me was organic chemistry.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, it's hard. It was hard for me, and I just thought, you know what, this is hard, and the way to deal with it is to keep up with the homework, because I am not going to give up with the biology just because it's
What grade did you get it?
but that's all I did. I did not do as well in physics because I put that off, because I intuitivly understood physics and I never got the problems right. So there's always, everybody's got their Achilles heel. And the way you deal with it a lot of times is just force and then work hard. Almost like when you go to look up something on Google, you got a question, right? So as you're going through your notes, that's why I said go to the pictures first. And make sure you understand the pictures that we went over in class, because a lot of times those are a diagram of a process. And it's easier to pay attention if you're reading to get a specific answer than if you're just trying to make sure you read every word. So it sounds like you guys have some pretty good strategies of your own already, though, if you're averaging an 82.
It's the first test.
Yeah, sometimes the first test is, the second test material is the hardest one because of the level of detail in respiration and photosynthesis and the fact that it's detail plus conceptual understanding. You're trying to build both. So just be prepared. It tends to be the one that people really struggle with. Would you say? Is that fair? And then the third one is all physiology. And a lot of that is at the concept level, so we do a lot of practice with the concepts and thinking through a problem. And you've kind of had that all semester already. She's not going to just stop with the definition. She wants me to think through the problem. So part of it is getting used to that style of being tested too. Like I did for the previous one? Yeah. Yeah, so I should get that done this weekend so that you guys have it well in advance. Yeah. So I have one version already. I'm going to change it up a little bit. Yes. How does clicker extra credit work? Okay. Does anybody else know the answer to that? He knows the answer, all right.
I mean, if it's the same as last year.
Yeah.
I hope I'm not wrong. At first I thought it didn't matter whether you got the questions right or wrong.
Yeah.
And I think towards the end, you said it was as long as you're there and put in effort, you get the grade that you want.
So it's both. So it's set up so that if you get the first time I ask a question and you get it right, you get 2 points for that answer. And then if you answer the question but you're wrong, you still get 1 point. Okay? And then if I ask the question a second time because it looks like we needed to discuss it, if you get it right the second time, you get 1 point. And if you get it wrong the second time, you get half a point. So you're always getting points for answering. So the scale for extra credit is set up so that if you get 50%, so like when you guys look on a blackboard and it says total turning point performance or something like that, and it tells you your points out of the total, that's a percent. You can take that percent, and if it's at 50%, you're going to get 1 point added onto your semester grade. So it's changing all the time as we change the total number of points, and you're changing your amount of right answer points you're getting. And then 60% at the end of the semester, you'll get 1.5 extra credit points added on top. Okay, so I'll average everything else and then add on top.
It's a percentage.
It goes up to 3 points.
It's a percentage point?
In a sense,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so you can get between 1 and 3 points added to your semester average. So when you're thinking, okay, I might be on the edge between a minus and a plus, or a plus and the next one up, that's what helps you. That gives me a numerical way to fairly put you to one side, right? Because you've earned it by being there and trying. And also, the more you participate in those questions, the more you learn. Not just a mathematical application. Yeah. So it's not the same as a quiz where you're being penalized if it's wrong. You're always getting credit for making that. Anybody else? Yes.
Why is it that we get, when there's attendance for recitation, does it matter at the end how many got to the
So if you did better on the, if you're not required to go to recitation, but you're going because you find it helpful, yay, that's good. But your attendance grade will be based just on lecture attendance. Yeah. Whereas the people that we are requiring to go to recitation now, half their attendance grade is based on did they show up when they were supposed to. Yeah. Yes.
Are you teaching 1362?
As far as I know. As far as I know. Yeah. So when you guys get ready to register, I'll be teaching that 2 sections of that as well. Are we going too fast?
We're good.
Yes. Oh, that's question number 3.
I know. It's like first number general question. How do we go like to professor's office hours if we want them to get to know us, but we don't have like a specific question regarding the class? We just want to like
Just go in and say hi.
you can just,
We're people. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So if you want to, where do we post our office hours though? It's usually only our
It's on the
class.
syllabus.
Yeah, but for if it's somebody who you're not in their class and you're trying to go during office hours, you can send them an email and ask them. But yeah, just office hours are walk-in time, so that's when you're not required to have an appointment. You just know we're going to be in there from whatever the times are.
The other thing you can do is find that professor and when you're searching for classes, and they have a somewhere on there where it shows the professor name and it'll say CV or syllabus, And you can open their syllabus, but that'll tell you the syllabus for that semester you're in, not the syllabus for next semester.
Yeah, because we usually change up our office hours depending
Yeah.
on what our class schedule is, so they change every semester.
Or email. Email's always good.
Yeah. But like if you're trying to figure out how to approach somebody you might want to do research with, also, just and put, in your subject line, make sure the subject line reflects what you want to talk about, like a question about research in your lab. And then put whatever your question is in your body of research. Does everybody ask questions? Everybody ask their two. Anything else you want to know? I like the what's at the end of the rainbow. I didn't give you a very creative answer to that one. You got a scientist instead of a poet. Yes.
What do you do to work out? You look like you're really like fit.
I run. And I tote my books around like you guys do, in my park over there in lot 16, so, yeah.
Because in the first couple classes, I would always mention to Paulina and Paula about how you look like you can literally just knock somebody out.
No, it's from carrying books. Really? Over there in lot 16, yes. I would Stop. I won't wear sleeveless shirts to class anymore. Anyway.
It's impressive though, because
But it's sanity, that's the same reason anybody goes to work out, so you don't lose your brain. And I'm not very good, I'm just persistent. I just go 3 days a week to get it done. Yes.
Do we study any concepts in neuroscience in the class?
We do. At the end of the semester, we're going to study how neurons work. And then we have, how many neuroscience professors? At least 2, probably 3 in the biology department who are doing neuroscience research. So my office is right next to Dr. Zaburkas, and he teaches an upper level neuroscience class. So if you come to find me, he's right next door. And I know that he has undergrads do research with him because one of the TAs from last spring was working in his lab. So he's very undergrad friendly.
If you have to be a biology major or a neuroscience major to undergrad research in neuroscience?
I don't think so. No. And then Dr. Roman, if you're interested in kind of neuroscience behavior, that's his area of research. He's got a big lab and he's also very undergrad friendly. And I know there's at least one more neuroscience person. Just search on the biology website for who works on neuroscience. You could start in the summer after this spring, right? I mean, we don't have a requirement for how many classes you have to take. And the other thing, I mean, you can do it during the school year, but you can also sign up with people to do summer-only projects. That's what I did when I was a student, because I felt overwhelmed by the idea of trying to manage that with classes. So I signed up for a summer project. And there are special summer programs.
Yeah. We're going to have Dr. Phillips come in December the 6th, and he's going to tell you about all the summer research programs that you guys can sign up for. One is called, and I say it wrong all the time, SMV. And you actually do an application, and that application process is linked to 7 or 8 different schools. You can go to Duke University, and I would suggest getting out of Texas and go see somewhere else at least once. And they have programs specific to freshmen. They have programs specific to people who want to do research in one in the medical industry, people who want to do research in one in the dental industry, and veterinarians. So you just have to kind of find it. He's going to come in with a binder that's going to have like 1,000 of these things in there. We'll find you something. Can't guarantee that you'll get something.
But find something you want to apply to. Yeah.
Well, we're talking about research a lot, but what about internships? Are any of those available to undergrad?
They are, but I know less about that. I'm going to refer you.
Are you a chemistry major?
Biology.
I don't usually think of internships when I think of biology. I think more research. I think internships when I think chemistry or And engineering, they do
And
that a lot.
engineering, yeah, and maybe business. So if anything is more research and volunteer work is what biology students usually do.
If you're interested in more ecological research, there are lots of people who put ads like on professional society websites, and you probably can find them if you just did a straight Google search. But if you're interested, let's say, in field research with birds, the bird people use lots of students during the summertime in particular, and they will advertise opportunities to sign. You get paid a little bit, but it's usually hard work, so be prepared. It's not going to be in the air conditioning. You're going to be outside trumping around. But there are other people who will sometimes advertise those summer research assistant opportunities.
And you go to career services, and they have some database for internships as well.
Yeah, but every so often, like a professor here will send out a blanket email, like, remember the one from Dr. Mizell saying, hey, is anybody interested? And we forward those on to you guys. Those are some ways to look at. Summer research assistant is what I would call it. That would be the keyword to search for. If you wanted to do it on this. Anything else, guys?
Okay, well, let's say thank you.
I practiced with my honors class this morning with academic questions, and they were all like terrified to throw the pieces of paper.
This passed in mine.